out, wow, this was a chemist for, Battelle in the late 1940s. He was developing a method to analyze titanium alloys of unknown origin. How interesting. He built a very complicated apparatus to dissolve these pieces of alien spacecraft that couldn't be cut or broken or chipped or destroyed by any known mechanical means. And they would dissolve them in chlorine carbon tetrachloride and measure the off gases to figure out their composition. Rather ingenious for the scientists of the time. Of course, the stuff that we find now with our friend out at Wright-Patterson there, we were talking about at Wright State, present day, who did a year in prison for the classified documents. If I can find him now. He was working on non-destructive methods for analyzing these materials. So they realized, you can measure the off gases and get a sense, but we have to destroy the piece in the process. And I think somewhere along the line, they must have realized that, these alien spacecraft materials can have these 5D memory chips, which we've created these things in our lab. Not me personally, but scientists elsewhere have made these 5D memory chips where they're able to store massive, insane amounts of information on a tiny crystal that's just printed. It's just stored information in the spin states in these of these spin glass. I talked about the spin glasses here. Let me see where the spin glass thing is. Yeah, the spin glasses. So they're able to store. They're able to store a lot of information in these crystal structures called spin glass. And so when they realized that, they were just trying to measure the chemical composition of this, it was just, and that they were destroying all the gigabytes and terabytes of potential information that might be stored on these spin glass photonic chips, they stopped using that method and began using these terahertz scanning methods to analyze and test these chips, which run on these again crystal structures that host photonic information relays. So it's like an electronic circuit with capacitors and resistors and inductors and logic gates and what have you, but it's all done with photonics on an atomic level, a much smaller level. And it might be possible even to build these things so that they can, are very integrated and complex. So you can have multiple systems going through one another, all communicating with quantum light and near field electromagnetic radiation that doesn't escape or radiate to the far field. Laser, extra power plant that would mess with the plane's max altitude. It would take time to actually do it. Oh, yeah. I was just, hypothetically saying they probably have SDI, stuff that's classified from the Star Wars Defense Initiative. They have space-based weapons like this that are satellites that just charge up with the direct sunlight that they get all day, and they can deploy these. So maybe that was just I don't know. I was just thinking, I thought the SR-71, because it's a high altitude plane and goes high, but yeah, you're right. As soon as they modified it, it'd probably mess with the altitude capabilities of it. It's more of a surveillance and reconnaissance plane that's equipped with just cameras and other such equipment. But so the plan to deal with it. So the plan, all right. You want to know the plan? I want to show you guys. I talked about this the other day too, and I want to show people. Go back to 1997, U.S. Air Force. Right. Let's. I'm gonna present the screen again so that we can hear the audio. And this is the recorded on, 6/24/97. That's June 24th, 1997. And this was the U.S.'s Air Force opening statement to the room. So they held a press conference for the U.S. Air Force to talk about the Roswell incident and their recent investigation into all this. And this, they noticed, the first thing they couldn't help but notice is that the room was just like packed with reporters and full of people. And the U.S. Air Force was just like this.
I only wish we'd been able to get this number of media here with us when we were trying to tell you about the importance of air power to national security recently. I only wish we'd been able to get this number of media here with us when we were trying to tell you about the importance of air power to national security recently. I only wish we'd been able to get this number of media here with us when we were trying to tell you about the importance of air power to national security recently.
Okay, so I'm a Fed. Someone's a Fed. I'm not a Fed, but I'll tell you who the Feds are. The people that are pushing this weaponized version of reality where they're saying, you know, these things are aliens. They're working with the Pentagon. I swear, dude, this is like, this is what I've said I think it's a psyop until it's proven otherwise, man. Yeah, no, not me, dude. Obviously I'm not. But listen, when you have people that are on the mainstream media, you have to question their credibility, because the mainstream media like is diversion, it's propaganda, it's misdirection, it's anything but journalism and education or information. You really have to be careful of all that, and for them to see, you know, they're trying to get national security and air security is a key thing to these people. This is a very real threat. And how do they get the American people to take it seriously and pay attention to it? Well, this is how, man. This is it's common sense. It's like they beat a dead horse for 50 years, right? 1947 to 57. That's 50 years. And they realized that we can't win this. We cannot beat these people. Like it's really literally the poster in Fox Mulder's office that I want to believe. Even if it was a Project Mogul weather balloon, which, I mean, all this recent balloon things, it's really making me question the Roswell thing more, because, you know, I really have a lot of questions about it. But, you know, could it have been just so many people just had wrong information, or they had an early version of Mylar that wasn't released publicly yet, and, you know, wasn't supposedly invented till 9 years later? Yet they had this the memory foil wasn't Mylar either. Mylar doesn't do what that memory foil did. And, you know, Jesse Marcel talking about the head intelligence officer on the Roswell case, talking about a material switch and a debris switch. I've always had questions about Roswell, and now that they're having these weather balloon, you know, these UFOs, and the media going crazy over UFOs being shot down and all this, and then it's going to come out that they're really were a bunch of weather balloons or observation or spy balloons or whatever, high-tech balloons, Project Moguls. It's just like, it just looks like PSYOP all over again, man. It just looks like, you know, maybe these were Chinese balloons. Maybe they were Chinese balloons that we captured through espionage or and re-released ourselves all at the same time to make a diversion. You know, who knows? You can't. There's something about this that makes me think all this stuff is very much connected. It's quite easy to be duped by the media when they're saying, you know, wrong information, and they're saying what you want to believe. Man, heck, I want to believe it's aliens. I wanted to, and I would just be like, yes, just please, just please. Everything's felt fake for the last 2-3 years. Can you please just be aliens? You know, I would love this to be aliens. You know, please don't just be a high altitude observation, you know, balloon or a weather balloon. I want this to be aliens too, but, you know, I'm not going to, you know, sell myself short or sell the scientific community or my audience short on the reporting here. The reality is that this is, I think this is a created story. Think about this just for a second, right? You want to take all the attention off these conspiracy theories. You really want to restore. You got Jeremy Corbell saying that, you know, we can trust the government again, and like they're putting out all this stuff to basically like having a mind. It's a big giant psyop that's going on. He's dude, yeah. Corbell's like, yeah, he should be the first one the aliens take and just get him off this planet, because he's out there telling people that we can trust the military now and that like they're on our side. He's selling this like watered down hippie public, you know, I don't know what the version of he's selling to the public of the UFO reality, but it's a cover up. It's a cover up, and he's being promoted as this big UFO guy who's really angry and knows his stuff about UFOs, but he's an idiot and he knows nothing about like anything. And they set him up to go on here and argue with these reporters and you know, look like he's this big hero for disclosure, and he's just an Operation Mockingbird puppet, man. It's so sad, and it's obvious. It's so obvious, dude. It's like, and they have all these fake, like, you know, they have a whole bunch of people that did kiss his butt because they're like, oh, well, you know, look how popular he is. Look how many views he's getting. And I got to like get this guy. It's like getting, you know, it's like getting on Joe Rogan. If you could get Jeremy Corbell to pay attention to you in ufology, it's just insanity, because it's like a guy that they pulled out and almost like created. Yeah, I'm sitting here like telling people real information, man, and it's getting so drowned out. They're just like muddying the water. As soon as I'm here to you know, he's like the opposite though, man. It's like, see, you have Neil as like this guy who's like this super smart scientist who's, you know, I want my expertise and all this stuff, and I'm going to talk to you like you're 6 years old, and I have to educate you, and because I'm so much more intelligent than you. And Corbell is like this. He's like the guy who it's interesting they picked a guy named Jeremy too, because I've been doing this for 20 years, and it's like there's a couple other Jeremys that I've seen that do good research in ufology, but they create this, they prop this guy up, and you know, he's this UFO tough guy, and this guy who's going after disclosure and stuff, and the karate instructor, and man, like I would love to see that guy actually debate a skeptic, because you know, it's just such a front. I see it for what it is, man. It's like if they had me on to debate a skeptic, like I've debated Mick West before. I'd love to debate him again now that it's been a couple of years. I've been trying to get Shermer on, or get Shermer to do a debate, get me on his show to do a debate with me. It's kind of hilarious watching, you know, some of these debunkers and the game that's being played, where it's literally, it's a bait and switch for one. So they bait it with the UFO and then switch it for a weather balloon, and then they have this gameplay of cat and mouse, where they serve up the mouse and then they send in the cat, whether it's Stephen Greenstreet with Lou Elizondo or in TTSA or Skinwalker Ranch, or whether it's the mouses, Jeremy Corbell, and they just, you know, Mick West coming out with Boca and all this other stuff. So yeah, it's like this cat and mouse that they've been doing. They serve up this guy like Corbell, and then just so they can smash him down. So he's like the straw man. It's another intelligence word for it, is the straw man tactic. And the way they do it is your straw man is that's what you pretend the argument is. So when you're debating, you minimize and you reframe the argument into the straw man, and then you beat the crap out of the straw man and claim victory over the, you know, it's like if I built a model of Mike Tyson and then beat up the straw man Mike Tyson and said, look, I just knocked out Tyson, dude. You know, that's kind of like the idea behind it, but it's like, it's a tried and true method. So it's an informal fallacy. Fallacies are very important in media and public relations, and anytime you're watching anything on the news, you have to understand that fallacies are just the main thing to look out for, because you can just spot the hasty generalizations, the cherry picking of evidence, the attack to the man instead of the attack of the argument, where they call you a conspiracy theorist, or say, oh, don't get sucked down those rabbit holes. And these are tried and true methods of truth obfuscation and sending people off the trail. So you have to be aware that the Pentagon is very invested. I mean, the FBI Twitter files alone should show everyone how much money and effort and time and how serious the FBI takes conspiracy theorists, and disclosure. They do not want people waking up and learning the truth, man. Like you can see that my streams get blocked. This is a super popular topic right now. We got 370 people watching live because this is such a hot topic right now, so they can't really avoid it. But man, I've had people have subscribed to my channel say that I found your channel and I subscribed to it, and then the next day I was unsubscribed and I couldn't find it anywhere, and like I forgot what guys that couldn't find me again for 6 months because they forgot what I was called, and they're like, oh, where was that video? And like I got unsubscribed. And then people that subscribe to me and say that, oh, I haven't gotten any notifications. I don't ever get notifications for your videos or anything. So yeah, please help me undo that. Leave a comment in the comments, not just in the super chat, and also go and smash that like button, because that helps with the algorithm and will help boost this even more. It's crazy when you look at my channel. I literally stayed at 100. I stayed at 99,000 subscribers on my channel for 2 years, and it didn't move. It would not move. And
sorry,
now
I have to interject. It was 109,000 to
Yeah.
000.
It got stuck
for 2 years to the point,
stuck.
And then finally last month it let you jump up to 1,000 or 100,010 to the 0 subscribers.
And I get people that say, "Oh, I've unsubscribed back." It was stuck at 99,000 2 years ago for like 2 years to 3 years before that, and then I got on Timcast, and that's what finally pushed it. It finally like broke, and they pushed me over 100,000. They had to say, "Okay, you got it." They never sent me my plaque. You're supposed to get a silver YouTube plaque or something in the mail at 100,000. I never got sent that. Maybe I can. I think I can actually go to YouTube and apply and get sent that. So I have to go find out how to do that. But yeah, I was stuck at 99,000. So this channel is shadow banned to heck. They do not want people getting on here because I don't know, man. They got people out here saying it's UFOs getting shot down. Again, they're not talking about the airborne ground penetrating radar systems that are on board. So they have this GPR that Lockheed Martin's been developing. The Chinese definitely have it too. And they can see things underground from the sky using this ground penetrating radar that's aerially deployed. So they're using that to scan, of course, northern Montana and these areas, because northern Montana, a new NSA spy center just went in there, and also a number of ICBM missile silos. So that's what is a big target for spying and intelligence. The U.S. Air Force knows this, and they want to start taking it seriously and start getting more money and funding for this. These things are flying over. They're using lasers that scan the land. This is a type of technology that can actually take geometric data and measurements. They can link it up with visual data, combine the two, and make very accurate maps of places. They also scan the digital radio frequencies for nearby RF devices and pick up any kind of signals and save those signals, and they can digitally save copies of those signals. So if they happen to be flying over the spy satellite, when your RFID fob goes off, they can pick up that signal and be like, okay, we got a fob number, when was that, and and link that technology up. The fact that these things were shot down so quickly and so, with such low cost, I mean, not low cost, but low grade technology, a Sidewinder missile, just makes me look at other UFO cases where UFOs have sustained aircraft, anti-aircraft gunfire for over 2 hours, and without any interruption or disruption of the craft. So these things have they're either mirages. I think some of these might, there is technology that can create mirages like this. That technology did not exist in 1942 because lasers weren't invented until like 1961, 1960s. So they couldn't have been what are called Pentagon talking plasma balls. I've talked about these before too. Let's find it on video. Yeah, these endless flashbangs and plasma balls. So this video, you guys can go watch this. It's if you type in talking lasers and endless flashbangs, Pentagon develops plasma tech. So it's basically two lasers, and where the beams cross right here, you'll see there's a laser coming out of this tube, a laser coming out of that tube, and where those beams cross, the air there is charged up so hot that it actually creates a plasma. And they can create a number of these plasmas, and they're able to actually create stunning 3D visual displays using these plasmas. That this was shown off at a Japanese event years back, but they've since classified the technology and pulled it. But there was a company that you can't even find the videos now. I have it saved somewhere, but I don't want to get another strike on my channel for showing, because they have copyrights on all that stuff, and if you show it, they just pull it. But it's basically they create a matrix of these dots in the sky, and they can create Jesus in midair. They can create whatever they want. They can create full pictures. They can program it into a computer and then shine a bunch of these dots in the sky using these lasers, and they can actually make any image that they want in the air. Now they can combine this technology with this, so they can actually make it talk. So these things they'll show you in this, where they give a demonstration where they can actually make the plasma, and they can send a audio signal through the plasma so that the plasma ball can appear in front of you and it can talk to you. It can make noise and literally talk to you through the excitations of the plasma that the laser creates. So this technology, I've said, they've had this for, the Pentagon just showing this now is some guy that just developed it, but there's probably 20 other scientists who developed it separately, and it just disappeared into a black hole before this, probably 20 years ago, probably even, back in the late 1960s when they were first developing lasers, they probably figured out how to do this. And one of the things is the microwave auditory effect. That's a little bit different. That's a microwave frequency that actually triggers your inner cochlea and can put beam voices directly in your head. Microwave hearing, so they can blast these sounds inside your head. It's also used in active denial systems to blast noise right to your inner ear. That's just penetrates your whole skull, and you can't cover your ears. And yeah, there's some interesting exploits of that technology as well. But the idea is that they can take they found out this carrier signal is that one frequency that triggers that microwave auditory effect, and then they frequency modulate the audio signal into that, so that they can put voices inside your head. So they can put the voice audio signal, and then put that on top of the carrier frequency and transmit it directly into your inner ear. The other thing they can do is do it the same idea through the flashbang. So the flashbang's creating this ball of plasma that's appearing in front of you that could be shaped like a wolf's head or a dino beaver or, whatever the heck have you. And, I didn't make dino beavers up either. That was a real thing reported by these people at Skinwalker Ranch. If you look into that nonsense, but all that can be created and faked using technology like this Pentagon talking plasmas. Of course, it's cooler to think that it's spirits and, Bigfoot's jumping out of portals and stuff. But, if I was trying to mess with people and run some psychological operations, this is exactly what I would do and how I would do it, with some funky lasers. And let me see about the stunning 3D images laser display. Yeah. Yeah, so they talk about this. This is some of the ones that they can make, right? Where they can put a butterfly in the air or different waveforms. They can create these simple waveforms with the laser and then build them. Yeah, that's some very basic stuff. This one's a little bit more interesting. The nerd alert. Yeah, this is it. This is the video where they talk about this. The Young Turks actually had this on, and I was like, wait a minute. They don't actually show the video. They have it clipped, right? No, here it is. It's in the first part. Right there. Okay, yeah. So this is the company that does it. They're creating that display with lasers in the air, just out of nothing. So this is the 3D display project. This shows in Japanese how they do this and how they create they focus the laser onto these molecules. The molecules are ionized. They give off a light, and they have a 3D scanner that scans the image and then can pulse out these laser focused laser beams, which can draw. So the uses the drawing mechanism that draws in the sky using these pulses of laser. And they can create some pretty interesting stuff, of course, dazzling sparkles. But I thought the coolest thing is the Pentagon's figured out how to make these things like a flashbang grenade that will, scare you, make a crazy crackling, sparkling noise, and also give you commands or tell you, I am Jesus. Listen to me, follow, pick up that axe. I don't know, man. This is just, the HoloVect is another one. That's another U.S. company that was doing this. It's called HoloVect. They do a slightly different method, I think, for producing it. But yeah, that one was cool. The pulsed laser display, and I forget what the company is called over in Japan that does that. But I first saw it on an old video that's been taken down since. But yeah, I thought that technology is pretty interesting. That one of these UFOs seemed like it could have been this technology, because they said it was, a lot of the pilots who saw this UFO said it looked different shape, from the different perspectives. So you could create these, images that would look different from different perspectives. And they could be these 3D, holograms, or these, produced lasers. Of course, these take a lot of energy to make. I don't know if they'd have a system on board, one of these floating, battery powered or solar powered array. They were solar powered arrays. Yeah. So all those, you'd have to collect a ton of solar light, and then it would burn it up, all that energy up really quickly for these high powered lasers to do this stuff. So these things do take a lot of energy, and would not be ideal for space-based, operation, or platform-based operation, balloon-based, what have you. So yeah, that's an interesting question. But yeah, they're trying to print this in the minds of citizens, UFOs attacking, spy balloons and stuff. So there's a lot of psyops going on involved in this. That's what it's apparent. There's you look at the headlines, there's these they're calling them UFOs. They're not calling them another spy balloon, another spy drone. They're calling them UFOs. And I think it's part of the Pentagon agenda. Like I said, like they realize you can't beat them, join them. And I know that they have plants because they planted all kinds of people with the FBI and COINTELPRO and the amount of money they pumped into this Twitter thing and trying to influence public opinion there. Why wouldn't they do it for ufology? You got to expect that, like, at least someone out there is a plant or, you know, working for the pro-Pentagon agenda, and just listen to what they talk about and what they cover and what they don't. And it's pretty easy to spot who these people are based on that, if not based on the fact that some of them are getting, you know, massive attention and massive fanfare, and they just get tons of views and tons of attention when they're not putting out real data. It just looks, it's on, yeah, it's all over YouTube too, man. Lots of people psyops, and then other people, what happens is they get excited with the psyop because the psyop's meant to do that. You know, it's be like, we have the proof of aliens, you know, and it's meant to trigger you. It's meant to get you excited, and so that you share the information too, and that spreads the psyop further. That's how these things work. It's getting people excited about the wrong things. And if you can get them overexcited and stupefied, then they do stupid things and they spread the stupid, you know, the stupid spreads really fast. It's really contagious, you know. When you feel stupid and contagious, it's a real thing. Ask Kurt Cobain. BL has facts. What is that? What is BL? UFOs use what BL has fact. What is BL? Holovect is a scam. Yeah, they're not as cool as that other company, man. They're using, like, it's just not the same. But the other stuff has an emitter, and I was talking about the way they have these denial systems. So the Pentagon's working on these things. What if they built like large scale ones for, you know, denying aircraft? So if a foreign aircraft comes in, they make this Foo Fighter ball appear next to the aircraft and start, you know, making noise or barking, you know, stuff. That would scare me the heck off, you know. If I saw some UFO or some especially you start spreading rumors about Tic Tacs and stuff. Oh, the Lockheed Martin might have a Tic Tac, and then, you know, all of a sudden you see this, you know, elongated sphere, you know, pill-shaped ball of light go flying by you. You'd be like, oh my God, I just saw a Tic Tac, you know. So well, we've been going for an hour and 14 minutes now. I'd like to open it up to some questions. The Pentagon bot? No, Elon Musk bought Twitter. Is Elon Musk bought by the Pentagon? Oh, I don't know. That's another question, man. I don't know. I wish I knew, but yeah. Oh yeah, Super Bowl, dude. I mean, you could watch some guys playing with balls, or you could watch me. I appreciate that. You think I'm more entertaining than men with playing with their balls. Oh Lordy. BL is ball lightning. Okay, yeah. Ball lightning. So what was the original question? Now I have to go back to that now. UFO use what BL has fact. Yeah, but ball lightning is a EVO, exotic vacuum object, or it's a supercavitated plasma in the sky. So that's another idea is you get to these plasma generation things, right? And that gets into a whole nother realm of what you can do with these plasmas now, right? Now, doesn't it? Because let's get into that. So blasting air. Yes, this one comes up. I mean, type blasting air. So this idea about when you blast air with these laser beams to create these, you know, you can create light. You can create an emitted thing of light, but if you blast tons of laser energy at a bunch of air, you can actually get the air to, you know, create plasmas, right? But these plasmas can boil the air and supercavitate it. So you actually can you can create a plasma so quick and so hot that it supercavitates and instantly evaporates the air in front of the craft and creates a essentially a vacuum or hollow point ahead of the craft. And this technology you can look up here on the drive in this article called Blasting the Air in Front of Hypersonic Vehicles with Lasers Could Unlock Unprecedented Speeds. Well, this technology is very real and is used in supercavitating torpedoes and also ICBMs. A lot of the new ICBM sites that are in northern Montana that these spy balloons were spying on use this technology to reach speeds of Mach 10 plus. So yeah, this is a Mach 6.2 flow on the strong norm versus conical structures, and they create these conical shock structures in front of the model, and they're able to reduce that bow shock by considerable amounts so that, you can reach very, very high speeds with these plasma aerodynamics technologies. So yeah, just applying these to aircraft wings and nose cones and stuff, it's a whole nother level of technology. And of course, the problem is, it creates a lot. It takes a lot of energy to do it. So they're trying to create. They've also tried to increase the performance of wind turbines using this technology. The discharges on the leading edge of the wind blades. That's pretty interesting. I never thought about that before. So this firm is called Physics, Materials, and Applied Mathematics Research, and it's a firm that is owned by this guy, Kevin Kremeyer. This is pretty cool stuff. These guys, this is their website right here. People want to go check that out. I'm going to post it right here in the chat. Oh, hey, you're late. Well, what'd you miss? Well, we talked about these 3 UFOs that were shot down, and they all turned out to be spy balloons or spy drones, unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, not UAPs. Sadly, they were not aliens. I would really prefer them to be aliens, or hope that we can, obviously it's kind of hard to shoot down aliens who have invisibility cloaks, warp drives, and force fields and other technologies that we're just beginning to learn about and discover with our human technology. I talked about some of that, got into detail about that, but I talked about some of the sensors that they were finding on, or would be finding, or might be finding, or probably will be finding on these balloons. Because if I were to design a spy balloon, I would certainly equip it with aerial-based ground penetrating radar, GPR, to see underground, look for sites underground, see if, is there a missile silo hidden underneath that cornfield? Is there a NSA spy center in this town somewhere? Where's their data center? Maybe I'd have some digital frequency memory technology aboard to, sit there and listen in on all the frequency waves that are all the RF frequencies and record any radio frequency transmissions as digital memory, so that, if they have unsecured RF devices, they can capture and use those signals, or find ways to jam those signals when they know what frequency they're operating on. So it's just standard intelligence collection stuff that would probably be on these blimps. Again, one of the UFOs was spotted using a laser. So the green laser came in a big long line and scanned the whole field, or scanned all the buildings, and were scanning the ground from one of these UFOs. This was in one of the reports, if you read it. And I said, well, this is laser range finding. This is distance measurement, where they use lasers and optics simultaneously to create a visual map of a entire area. They can use these lasers for that. Very common technology. It's been around since late 1960s, when they used it on Apollo 11 to measure the distance to the moon in the laser range finding experiment that NASA did. And the first one, the first UFO here, this first balloon actually crashed or was shot down right off the coast in U.S. waters on the ice up there in the top of Alaska, the dead top of Alaska, a place called Deadhorse, Alaska. Hey, thank you, Taryn Art, for the super chat. Appreciate that, man. And oh wait, hold on. Here's where this I got another one here. I don't know if I saw this one. So we have a $20, 20 pound super chat. I watched a video by C.W. Lemoyne, former fighter pilot, explaining why they used an AIM-9X. Basically, it has a frag warhead that will do limited damage because of altitude, cold air. You'll get a good contrast for a heat seeker. So, yeah, I don't know the technicals on missiles. I'm not a military or missile guy. Oh, so that's a Sidewinder. Yeah. Yeah, these things have been around since the 1950s, man. But it's the basic propulsion system where they have a vectored tail exhaust that's equipped to a thermal sensor, a sensor that uses heat-seeking sensor that will do tail vectoring. Yep. Yeah, I mean that's good enough. I guess maybe that the AM Sidewinder was the right tool for the job, I suppose. Maybe could find some other way to take the thing out. This was where we're talking about better ways of how would you, so yeah, I'm not an expert on all that stuff. So, I mean, if you are an expert on what would you use to take down the balloon, please post it in the chat. I'd like to see, if anyone has, how would you take down that spy balloon so that you could safely recover it and you wouldn't have to spend tons of time and money picking up pieces off the ocean floor? Is there any way to go in with a net and capture it and, commandeer it or take the thing down? I mean, how would you have done it safely? We should have realistically, as scientists, we should be jumping on this and saying, well, you have a crisis here. There's a need. The military has a need for someone who can create a technology now to safely take a spy balloon out of the air over, people's houses and stuff. So that's why they allegedly waited for this thing to go out to the Atlantic Ocean and then shot it down once it got off the coast, right? So thinkable, super high tech that's the idea, man. And the super high tech's about the idea. What is technology? It's a means to an ends. So we have the ends goal, the end result that we're looking for is a safe way to remove a weather balloon from 40,000 to 60,000 feet. So this thing's floating and it's 40,000 to 60,000 feet. We need a safe way to capture that and bring it down and get all the electronics on board without water damage, without impact damage, without blowing them up with an AIM Sidewinder missile, and that's what I'm talking about here. And if you can create a company and a product to do that, right, dude, I'm on board with you, man, because we're getting defense contracts right away. So maybe let's do that. Let's come up with a plan to take down and not kill these things, but safely intercept and disrupt and commandeer these things. And also just like the drones, right? So they have those the guns that shoot down the drones, right? Have you seen the drone catcher? This guy's got this anti-drone friggin' gun. Look at the size of this thing. And it shoots a heat-seeking net. So this thing comes out and the net comes out and it intercepts the drone and can capture it safely without damaging it, So they have these systems available to capture these things. And then they even train eagles. They're even training eagles to grab these drones safely so that they know exactly where to grab them so that they won't cut themselves or hurt themselves, and they can snatch them out of it. So they got falconers, training their birds to snatch drones too. So yeah, that was pretty cool. The bird capture. Yeah. So they have that stuff, and you know, I thought that was an interesting idea. You know, when you have these, we have these ways to shoot down drones. We should have more ways to shoot down and intercept these spy balloons. And if you can come up with a technology to do this, you might be sitting on a multi-million-dollar defense contract next year. So yeah, that Eagle was bad. That was a Eagle, armed Eagle army, anti-drone Eagle army. We could train a team of Eagles to take down the balloons. Yes. Yeah, the gondola alone was 7,000 pounds. Yeah, well, that's a problem, huh? Ooh. Yeah, so that's like a specialized interceptor, man. You'd almost have to like blow up the balloon and then you have parachutes on it. Like, you know, you have this net thing that takes out the balloon. I don't know, man. People who say there's a better way don't know how big those balloons actually are. All right, so let's look at the spy balloon getting pulled out of the ocean. Ocean recovery. So I've seen some perspectives of these guys pulling the waist up of this. You know, I want to see some pictures of that. It's South Carolina. This thing was recovered. All right, come on. I hate how there's no pictures of this actual spy balloon, but they got ads for other political crap up. Let's go see this. So, spy balloon recovery team. Yeah, I didn't think it was that big in the picture of it. 7,000 pounds. Now, this looks like carbon fiber rods. You know, some PV paneling on there. This is just pieces of the actual balloon itself. So it looks like a plastic. Yeah, I'd be curious to know exactly how, if this is for reference, one of these frames right here. Okay, I'd say that's about 36 to. It's definitely not longer than 48 inches in the cross member. Maybe 48, 36 to 48, so 3 to 4 feet on that side. And if that's for some perspective, let's get a high def picture of the balloon. Chinese spy balloon, and kind of get an estimate on the size of this thing. Yeah, so here it was right there. It has a number of these cells. So that cell piece is there's about 8 of those, right? 8 of these things, 9 of them, maybe. Is that like invisibility tech, man? So maybe there's 8 on each side. So if there's 8 of those on each side, then something in the middle. Let's go back to that other picture of this. So that's 8 of those. So this contraption, about how much, this probably weighs like 40 pounds. I'd say 40 pounds tops. So that's all carbon fiber rod and a couple sensors, and everything's built to be like super light. That thing probably weighs 40 pounds. Times 8 of those, times 16 of them, because there's 8 on each side. That's going to be like 4,000, 7,000 pounds, dude. I don't know if where are you getting that number that these things weigh 7,000 pounds? It's 200 feet in diameter was the size of that balloon. So calculate how big 200 foot, how many pounds can 2,000 foot, how heavy was it? Is there any estimates on this? How heavy was the Chinese spy balloon? at least 300 to 400 pounds of equipment. So you're like off by a factor of 10, bro, with your number there, 7,000. 200 feet tall. But again, these surveillance blimps are crazy too. These the other surveillance blimps they got. I want to talk about some of the camera technologies that they have inside these things. This is called the Argus. They basically took the whole bunch of iPhone cell phone cameras out of an iPhone and built a spider eye, like a big web of them in a grid. And it has this crazy optical capability where they can just take a wide image of this whole city, and they can zoom in to any one of these cameras and get like a incredible detail within this image. It's like a 7 gigapixel image, something ridiculous. And they're able to apply all these, target tracking. So they're able to track different targets with these computer-based algorithms that are able to, identify and track different moving targets within the image and the picture. So they're able to take like detailed, data and watch things for hours. So this is one of these blimps. They have these things deployed on blimps. But imagine you could have one of these on your spy balloon and just be taking like constant data of the site or whatever you're flying over, and you'd be able to have like a full detailed operation of day-to-day work at your NSA spy facility in northern Montana, say. If you wanted to be like, all right, well, is that a red Camry? Is that a tan Ford F-150? And who's that belong to? Where are they going? Where do they go before, during, after work? And all that kind of stuff. Man, there's a lot of comments here. We got a lot of people watching tonight, man. How's everyone doing out there? I don't see anyone. A lot of new faces in the crowd, guys. Thank you for jumping on and joining us tonight. But this is just to give you some idea of the capabilities that we have with the tech, Oh, the travel distance and speeds and the control system. So apparently this thing could change direction too. I talked a little bit about that on my last stream, where they have just simple ballast that can fill up or deflate, and that can change the altitude of the balloon so that it can go up or down. And that will let it hit different air currents or different areas, so that, like, say that they know the air current's traveling one way, it can go up to 60,000 feet or drop down to 40,000 feet to ride a different air current. It also has a little bit of maybe onboard propulsion with it. I don't know if it had some propellant. They use a jet propulsion with some propellant. I don't know what it had on it, but again, if I had one and I wanted to easily maneuver it, it's just about studying those airflows and those air patterns, and then getting a balloon that can ride up and down, to sort of control where it's going to be within those air patterns. And it would be better to try to find ways to ride those airflows more gradually than actually bringing on board. I don't know how much propellant, because the more propellant you bring, the more it weighs down your spy balloon. And I don't know that we have ion thrusters or ion drives. They may have equipped it with like a lifter effect drive, which uses solar power. This thing did have solar powers on, solar panels on it. So assuming it has solar power, they could be using, Biefeld-Brown effect ion thrusters to propel it through the air, in addition to the altitude control that it has. I'd love to know more about that and the science involved. And but again, if I was going to do it, Yeah, I'd probably set it up with some ion thrusters for some basic, push off. So you can do a little bit of push if you need to get, but it would be more about getting into, the jet stream or wind stream that's appropriate, like the one that was bringing these things up and across. And they go very slowly. They just float in the wind currents. And the idea is for it to be really high altitude, but also have it be, hard to detect. It's not like these things were bright orange, The solar was the control. Yeah, that would make sense. But what was the actual propulsion method that these things used? You had people saying, "Oh, there's no visible forms of propulsion." That just means there's not a propeller or there's not, visible propulsion thing on it. But Biefeld-Brown effect is. It's not just Biefeld-Brown. There's been a lot of people using ion wind propulsion for a long time. You can go back to, the 1913 with Luigi Rota and Edward Farrow, who were building aircraft back in, 100 years, over 100 years ago, that used ion thrust type drives with electromagnetic ion wind thrust drives. So, yeah, this stuff's not exactly new. It's just a little bit obscure and not, it's also a little bit dangerous and not really super well, wasn't well understood up until, the 1950s when Andrew Bonson, a local air conditioner manufacturer who had made a lot of money selling air conditioners in the early heydays of air conditioning in the 1950s, decided to use some of the extra money he made to fund anti-gravity research and hired a bunch of scientists who he brought down to his lab and funded back in the 50s to try to, learn about anti-gravity and run experiments with it and build some stuff. And apparently, some projects in the U.S. Air Force and whatnot came out of these projects because we have guys like Mark McCandlish who talked about being shown things in the military that we're building and working on these types of things. Of course, the military was interested in a lot of the research that was going on there. And I go into other types of propulsion that's been researched over the years by different aerospace companies and the military alike. Even interviewed, guys like Mike Gamble, who worked for Boeing on some of these systems. You can find those on altpropulsion.com or the APEC conference, which is a conference that ran for about 2 years. And we interviewed a lot of NASA guys from DARPA, NASA, propulsion scientists, MIT scientists, and other guys. And I've put their information out there. People who worked for a lot of interesting programs, a lot of research that was done. We've been digging all this research that up and replicating the experiments, talking to the scientists and trying to declassify and put this information out there for public to have ready available access to it. It's all unclassified or declassified, and it's just about a public education and outreach program so that people don't get sucked in by charlatans and frauds and kind of get a better understanding of where the field's actually at and where they can find good sources of information and real scientists to learn from, listen to, and talk to. So in any case, thanks, man. It's taken 20 years. I've gone down a lot of these bad rabbit holes and listened to a lot of bad researchers and come out of that and learned a lot over the years. And I think that UFO research, if that's what you want to call it, is so Alaska. What's up with Alaska? There might be some ICBM sites in Alaska. I know there's a number of them in northern Montana, but Alaska's like the entry point. It's just where the airflows go. A quick recap of this and of the weekend is that we had Friday, the first UFO got shot down over the ice in a place called Deadhorse, Alaska. That one was apparently recovered from out on top of the ice, and it was a balloon. Saturday, another UFO gets shot down by NORAD over the Yukon in Canada. That one gets recovered. And then a third one gets shot down over Michigan, and that one gets. So these. I believe these events are all related, including the Chinese spy balloon that was shot down. It was spotted over Montana and then shot down later over South Carolina. I believe these are all related to a similar operation where they've released a number of these different balloons. They probably released 4 or 5 of them, hoping that one will be able to hit the right targets and go over the right areas to get the right data that they're looking for. The type of data that they're looking for, of course, is ground intelligence, ground-based satellite, not just satellite, but detailed visual imagery, including geometric data of the landscape. So they're able to. One of the UFO reports is that these UFOs were scanning the entire ground with green lasers and shining this laser, which swept over the entire ground and scanned a lot of stuff. So that's a laser rangefinder, and that's used to measure distances, and it's correlated usually with cameras and a computer that can link up optical data with the laser data to get accurate measurements on ground targets. That combined with satellite-based ground penetrating radar, which can actually uses radar to see things that are underground. If there's underground missile silos or underground bases or underground tunnel systems or anything like that, there's these technologies which are developed to see those types of things and collect data on those. And then you also have digital radio frequency memory, which are the electronics radio scanners, which will scan for any kind of RF signals or people. So they're taking data like from this camera that I showed with the eye in the sky, where they can have this image, a visual, and they can scan in, and they probably scan in right on the NSA spy facility, and they're able to see who's there in the morning, where the cars came from, and be able to trace those cars back to where they came from. So then now they have data on where the NSA employees live, what kind of cars they drive, and then the DRFM technology can link up. So when they get out of their car and they hit their lock button, that digital your car thing creates a digital a radio frequency, and that gets picked up by the spy satellite, and they can so now they can go unlock your car. Now they can lock and unlock your car because they got your key, or they got your fob pass that allows you to access in the building, and they were able to pick up that RF frequency off the fob swipe. So you have all these technologies. This is the kind of spy, high-tech spy gadgets that they're using to look and spy on us actively. And these are the technology that they're sending over to try to, in the hopes that they reach their targets and can collect some data, and then these things beam back the information. So of course they put out the story in the mainstream media that these are UFOs. That gets picked up by a lot of these leaders in the UFO community, and then the Pentagon and other people, debunkers, can later come out and discredit these people further and say, look at the conspiracy theorists and the people who research UFOs. They're all this stupid. They're all don't know what they're talking about, and you shouldn't listen to any of them because none of them have any anything valuable to say or any valuable information to share. And that's what they want you to believe about all of us, especially guys named alien scientist out here on the internet. Who the heck is aliens? Who calls himself alien scientist? That guy's totally a UFO conspiracy theorist. He's crazy. Don't listen to him. So that's the big idea. I think it's being used in multiple ways. So the Pentagon is probably responding to an actual threat, using the UFO narrative to prop up again publicity and public support for enhanced air defense, because now we're all scared that we're under attack from UFOs. That's a heck of a lot more scary than spy balloons, but spy balloons are still pretty scary. So let's get all these programs started to do research into this. That gives the Air Force more money. It gives them more funding for air defense. I talked about how they opened up the 1997 U.S. Air Force press conference with the remark, that, hey, if we could get this many people to pay attention to real, funding issues for the U.S. Air Force, wouldn't that be great? So the Air Force saw that, the media goes crazy over UFOs, and they were, how do we get this much, attention and funding for our own research? How could we possibly, get a hold of the UFO community? Well, we'd have to create some pundits. We'd have to create some friendly forces. We'd have to find someone who was like someone who was a karate instructor who's struggling to get by working as a maintenance man in his parents' apartment complex, and we can prop him up to be the best UFO expert, and we'll put him on. We'll get him. He gets Bob Lazar. He gets super famous. We'll get him on all these big podcasts. Again, Bob Lazar, I have so many other scientists that are so much more credible and have so much more physics and knowledge and information to share than Bob Lazar. I mean, we'd be happy to get into any number of these scientists. I talked about a number of them, like our buddy who did a year in federal prison for just bringing a couple documents home with him. Never mind, leaking the location and details on the most classified secret alien installation on the planet. It's just, I think it's very telling when there's a psyop going on and you're trying to figure out who's in charge of it and who's the guy that they're using to run it. And it's very telling when you get a guy who doesn't have any real talent for making good investigative journalism films or documentaries, and instead, gets a ton of support. Someone's helping him with a lot of this. You can tell that he's getting a lot of help from a lot of people. You can't do this by yourself. And when you start questioning why is the Pentagon, trusting Jeremy Corbell with this information? You can't be trusted with this classified information, but we can give it to Mr. Corbell, who can then give it to you. And now Corbell's getting all the inside UFO scoops right from the Pentagon, and he was on this UFO story this weekend from day one. And it's weird that it all happened in 3 days over the weekend. It's like they know that my schedule is that I have to watch my kids from Friday to Sunday. It's almost like it was planned, because the first one happened literally at 4:00 on Friday, which is when I picked my kids up. It's like they knew my schedule and knew I'd be out of commission, and they could get a hold of the story and take the reins on it before I had time to even put my shoes on. I mean, I was just researching this for like 2 hours. I didn't have time all weekend. I was just hanging out with the kids. 2 hours ago, I just started, throwing together all the research and into this to try and put something together. But, I got 20 years of research before that about all the technologies and stuff, so I'm good at throwing that stuff in. But when you get like a guy who gets fed these leaks before they happen, and he's just on top of these big stories one after the other, and spreading aliens, and the bunkers are gonna go. We're winning, and we're crushing these debunkers, but you're not debating any of the debunkers, and the debunkers and even the real researchers in ufology are laughing at you if they're not crying, because they know that the game you're either playing the game or you're being played as part of the game, because this is all a game to obfuscate the truth. This is what's called counterintelligence. Okay, the very point of counterintelligence is to stop you from learning anything real. Like it's basically to mind fuck you is the point of counterintelligence. It's to completely psyop you and mind fuck you. And if you don't realize a guy who calls his podcast Weaponized and wears a shirt that says mentally ill on the podcast is not trying to mind fuck you, Like, come on, it's so obvious. I would love to have him debate me for even a short time. It's just crazy how they hype this up as aliens, and it's just a bunch of spy balloons, and the Air Force is just going to use this to debunk the conspiracy theorists, make all the conspiracy theorists look like idiots who can't do research, and all our best journalists aren't real journalists, and they're just a bunch of people trying to sell opinions or stories. And it's a straw man tactic. I talked about that, how they're going to use this as a straw man tactic to attack the conspiracy theorists, make the UFO researchers and all this stuff look dumb, and then they're going to use it to prop up air defense. It's all about the Pentagon agenda at the end of the day, and the fact that this all meets every single one of those criteria. The BBC would never have me on, and I would never go on mainstream media. I don't think I could ever do it. I would love to debate the skeptics, but what's up? Sorry.
One of the great ironies about the whole situation is that this is the exact thing that the Avro Arrow was designed for.
Yeah, isn't that funny? They create this UFO program in the military to deal with this, and this is the exact thing it was built around, and then boom, it happens. Well, it is an existential threat, so it's not like, it's not like it's just completely out of the blue or anything. It's like, well, it's not like they made an alien office. It's like the aerial threat office, so it's to slam more money at stuff, and it's to get more, Pentagon money for this stuff too. And yeah, clear your mind. And people can. I'm not a debunker, man. I'm not here to say that there's no UFOs, there's no aliens here. I'm just here to say that, if there was and we shot one down, you wouldn't hear about it on mainstream TV. It wouldn't make the news, dude. If it's making the news and it's out there in mainstream TV, it's a psyop until proven otherwise. It's just how you have to approach everything in this, post-disclosure world. The game is up, man. It's like they can only run psyops so much, and there are a growing number of people on the population who are aware of these things and are aware of the tactics that are used. And man, a great way to do this is, even if you had a real UFO event, what I would do is I would make a bunch of these fake UFO events and publicize those. So there might even be a real UFO event, a fifth crash or whatever that, they're using all this to cover up, and that we'll never hear about that, because that's how psyops work.
Sure, I got an idea.
Don't you think it's kind of weird that we spend billions of dollars on trying to find intelligent life, and then once intelligent life comes to our planet, we shoot it down? Like,
right, that's our first step. That's it.
And then you have this Chinese balloon. Why not make it clear plastic? Why does it have to be white? Like clear plastic, then nobody would have seen it.
Yeah, all right.
So, it's just a lot of things that just don't add up.
So I think the Chinese sent the balloon.
It may have been clear plastic. Well, it's not. It's pretty white, but it's not like a white, translucent plastic. It's semi-opaque.
Yeah,
and it might even look more white in that.
To see, but it could have been clear, and it's not that hard. And the third thing is, you said it's like 200 pounds. It took them like a couple of days before they shot it down because of, it might be a hazard to, people. Well, it's 200 pounds, and with like a 200 diameter, like it would just like fall down really slowly. It wouldn't cause a hazard. It's just 200 pounds,
Well, I mean, if it was a 200-pound lithium-ion battery, I'd be kind of scared of that falling on me, because then it explodes.
I think they could have, like, there is a lot of empty land where this thing, went over. But for whatever reason, I think they wanted that, to leave it there, just to create a hype, for the people, like just, surveilled or.
Let it fly over the whole country first.
Well, and then they got the media to call it UFOs and report that shooting down UFOs. That's the. I mean, they just the media is easy to dupe though. It's understandable why they would run with a story like that, especially. But who started that rumor? Because someone had to pass that story to the NORAD shot the second one down, and the military shot the first one down. So they had to have made that press release, and why would they would call it a UFO or UAP right away? It's kind of curious, man. And yeah, so the helicopters can't fly above 7 kilometers. You got fighter jets and spy planes can go about 18 to 28 kilometers, but this thing was like 17 to 42 kilometers, so it's a little bit higher than you can kind of get with your top spy planes and fighter jets, these high altitude balloons. But
I just think they left it up in the air too long for a spy balloon. Like, why would you want the other side, for 4 or 5 days to have information? Like, you should have been
I think the
picking down
Chinese
the
were trying to get us to use some
It
classified.
was almost like Biden was working with them for a psyop to prove they could do it.
yeah, maybe they were baiting us to try to see what we use. Because I was talking about how I would shoot this thing down, and people were
Don't
talking
you
about
think it's kind of odd that
Yeah,
this
it'd be easy.
we have and stuff.
appeared and then the earthquake happened? So I don't know what the link is, but there has to be something. Like, just like the second they shoot this thing down, like a 7.8 magnitude earthquake happens, on the other side of the world. It's like, did they kind of instigate that somehow? Like, I don't know.
Well, right before that massive earthquake, I don't know if you saw the photo of the giant red cloud thing. And we've noted before on previous streams that before major earthquakes, you'll often see ball lightning and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Well, this one was pretty distinctive, let's put it that way.
Yeah, Earth lights or whatever they call it.
Earthquake prediction. Go look at Dutch sense.
Plus, we
Yeah,
had a lot of sun activity lately. It's caused
I can light a cigarette with a laser, man. If you can ignite tobacco, you can burn through
Yeah.
polycellulose.
That's a good point.
You know,
If they can shoot down a drone, they could handle thin plastic.
What if they're like setting up when, what if it's real UFOs that are coming in, but now they're calling it like spy balloons and this and that?
well, that's what I said. There could be a UFO invasion, and they could be covering it up with spy balloons. We could be, at war, and the media would never let you know, and they'd be selling you this fake news story.
I think the Chinese are testing our air defenses.
Okay, but if we're at war, like, has anybody been affected? I haven't, so I don't know, like, what is the war? It's just, it doesn't make sense.
People would film that.
we
Well, not a
wanna be
hot war
on-
yet, just
and then-
preparations.
I don't know, like,
So
I
it's
don't
just
know.
preparations for war.
If you were to work at one of these facilities, you might be a target. But if you're not working there, then you're not affected by it. And if these things are not affecting you directly today, but if they use one of these DRFM scanners to steal your electronic keys or something, then that might be dangerous. So I don't know. It's I know it doesn't affect us.
hopefully they steal, like, my Bitcoin wallet and they fill it up or something like that, if that's the whole thing. Like, what if they're doing good? How do you know? Like, nobody, I don't think a intelligent species from, interstellar space.
We do the same thing or more invasive methods for intelligence collection too. So I mean, we're not completely innocent of spying and doing stuff like this ourselves. I mean, we have high altitude reconnaissance aircraft that are equipped with some of this equipment. We have satellites that have some pretty fancy equipment.
They literally make all the chips in China. They can get all this from your phone.
One of
Yes.
the Air Force commercials said they launch 2 satellites every month. So imagine how many's up there. Must be enormous.
A lot of those are CubeSats, though. And honestly, a lot of them are like student projects.
From the
Yeah,
Air Force?
It's actually pretty cheap these days to make and launch your own satellite. They make them in little cube format so you can stack a whole bunch of them and you launch them all at the same time.
Right. I'm thinking these are like, I got the impression these were military, I mean, like spy satellites, but yeah, maybe you're right for some of them.
So I'm not talking about processor chips. I'm talking about every other electrical component on your motherboard is made in China, pretty much.
Yeah, they keep wanting to spy on everything. So
The defense have, called attention to that. We need you. They've actually put a couple billion towards U.S. manufacturing of chips to bolster chip making because of all the Chinese chip problems.
Yeah, that won't be ready for years, though. TSMC has only
Oh,
recently started.
We're 20 years behind, and we sold out a lot of our defense contracts and manufacturing to China because it was cheaper over the years. And there were all these military and defense contractors that were just trying to save a buck and acting as, CEOs in the business sense rather than intelligence planners. And they really doomed our nation. And a big part
I'll
of
tell
that.
you, it's going to look really, really dumb if you lose Taiwan because they own semiconductors.
isn't it like Taiwan and the Philippines and Korea, something like that?
China wants it bad. That's,
Yeah, so
Yeah, what happened to all the semiconductor facilities we used to have?
those are outdated.
Well, the thing is that the fabs have to be made for the size that you're actually fabricating. So, I mean, yeah, if you want to build something from the 80s, then the equipment might still be around. I'm being facetious, but
Yeah. So, I mean, if you have like a 22 nanometer process, the 12s won't be stable, and it won't be stable enough for 12 nanometers.
They're down to 7 now.
Are they down
you need much more accurate equipment in order to make it.
Right. I thought it was just
So,
the lithography, though, not everything else. But
okay. Yeah. So
this is every aspect of it because you're literally removing like singular atoms at this point. It's crazy.
Yeah, TSMC is in Taiwan, and they make all ARM and AMD processors. And Intel makes them in the U.S., but they can't get that low yet.
We're at the point where we can't make them much smaller on a 2D scale because we get quantum tunneling issues. So what they're doing is that they're making it 3D, so it has to change direction.
I don't know. I've been hearing that since the 90s.
Well, it's super hard to make, and
Then
it's already a silicon lottery. When they make their
since the 90s, that the tunneling's a problem since then, but they still keep making it smaller.
Well, the government military usually uses old processors because when they're thicker, it sounds dumb, but they don't.
No, that's what I thought. That's what kills me about how they say they can't get to the moon. It's like,
Well, the processors that we're using,
processors.
Unless you're paying out the nose, you're getting the defective ones. Because it's only as precise as we can manage, right? So, this section of the chip doesn't work, so we're just going to cut that section off and just call it another number and sell it for cheaper. And it's like that for graphics cards and CPUs.
I would think it's like, a Pentium 4 would be plenty fast enough for, hell, they did it on what's a calculator now. So, well, for that matter, we can send a cell phone.
Even if you have two identical chips, they're still going to run at different speeds, and one will have like slightly better performance for overclocking. So it's always a lottery at the end of the day,
right?
Because it's not perfect, and it's impossible
I'm just
to make something
computing power for just the moon landing. It's like it's bullshit that they say that they can't get there because of the electronics.
So the Army has banned all the Chinese DJI drones from use in Army things. And also hike vision cameras are banned from all government, military, and other, federal facilities, security facilities, because on the hike vision cameras, there was this advanced settings of platform access and very deep in the settings and the configuration settings for all their cameras. All their IP cameras have this call home function on a chip built into them. So it would connect to this Amazon server. So they had to take all these hike vision cameras out of federal facilities because they were trying to call home to this Amazon server and share the feeds with Chinese intelligence.
This is nothing new. I remember several years ago, I think it was server racks that they found out the Chinese added another chip that was the size of like a grain of rice that wasn't part of the specification that the U.S. government purchased, and obviously it was for spying. And this was maybe a decade ago. So
Yeah,
There's
they can put it
nothing new.
on the board.
I
So
think you get grain of sand to CPUs now.
I want to switch gears back to the spy balloon and keep it focused on a little bit.
Yeah.
But what is the, so we have the NRO, the National Reconnaissance Office, right? It's bigger than the CIA, and it does funding wise, and they launch all the spy satellites out of Vandenberg Air Force Base.
It's like 10 times bigger, isn't it?
And they have tons of funding because they build all these spy satellites and they collect the actual intelligence, and they run a lot of the spy plane operations and intelligence collection. So they're like the collector service of the recon, office. But then a lot of that intelligence, like we talked about this ground penetrating radar, the lasers that it can scan the ground with to look at the stuff underground, the laser rangefinders they can use to map and measure and do scans of the area with. These were reported on these Chinese spy balloon cases that were recent. So we have a National Geospatial Intelligence Office. This was formed in 2003. Before that, it was known as the National Imagery and Mapping Agency, or NEMA. Now it's NGA, or the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. But I was just wondering, does anyone know what China's equivalent of this office is? I mean, Chinese, government obviously has one of these.
Like a military version of Google Earth, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like Google Earth, but for military and way better.
Right. Probably updated live half the time. So you need it.
Yeah, and it's
I
like
think I heard something like we call it like UAPs, or they call it what is it, weather condition, or like weather condition phenomena, something like that. Like, they name it a little bit different. They don't call it UAPs or unidentified. They call it unidentified weather conditions.
I just want to point out that people can get access to some of that. Like, if you get like CIA offices or intelligence offices, they're always blocked out on Google Maps and Street View and stuff like that. There's a site called CryptoMe, which keeps archives of all these unredacted. So you can go and do street views of all the intelligence facilities. And
I heard the military gave Google their mapping software. I don't know if that's true or not, but
I thought Google used
to integrate all those pictures.
Yeah, they have integrations too. Like, I think you can download actual, like, I don't know if it's on here. You might have to go into deep web and find some other stuff, but you can actually download like new maps and server maps that are like there's people that pirate them from the military maps.
Really? Yeah, I was wanting to get see what the highest resolution really is. I'm sure it's way better than Google.
You can get some sites you can zoom in really for there's more data on a lot of that stuff, but a lot of it you only get so much satellite. You have to send a balloon or a recon plane over.
I noticed about 10 or 15 years ago when it first came out, it was way more detailed than it is now.
This is actually
for just my house.
This is actually one of the rare occasions where I'm going to praise people at Google, because several years ago, back when they were working on computer vision, they had a major protest within the company because they didn't want to create, drones that would go around killing people.
Didn't want to be evil.
So Google started.
They didn't want to be that evil anyway.
Yeah.
At least some of them. So I don't know if they're still working there. I kind of doubt it. But the people who stood up there, good job.
Yeah, and how many are we sure none of these balloons are Russian? I mean, we haven't determined. I think we've determined that they were all balloons or spy drones of some kind. I don't think they were all confirmed Chinese, though.
At least that we know of.
So
maybe we only know about the balloons.
They're trying to get us to use some kind of,
or maybe the balloons are the distraction. Maybe there's other mapping going on that's like stealth, and we're focused on the balloon. Why they might have other.
They're trying to get us to shoot it down with some kind of classified weapons that they don't know about.
Well, these guys will have you thinking that they're psychic spies spying on you with their minds and with remote viewing. But if they
I was thinking more like the active camouflage for aircraft.
Well, look, they can see you with your Wi-Fi now, so let's be real. Where's your router made?
Yeah, that's what
I
they
don't
don't
know
need.
where lakes this is,
Yeah,
but that's where
yeah.
most colors come from.
I think
You
they
can
wanted
use
us to
the
use
Wi-Fi.
ARP or laser beams or something to shoot it down, something they don't know about to figure out what we might use. But we just waited and shot it down with a missile instead because we're
You know, when they said they were jamming the communications, that's what I was thinking about. So they were probably using a laser beam to communicate with some other satellites we don't know about and send the information back.
yeah, it could be.
You know, while we think they're using a radio signal, you know, here they are, you know, satellite to satellite laser communication. That's already a known thing. So
I think they were waiting for us to harp it or freaking use lasers or anything Jeremy's been talking about.
oh man, you're can you turn up your volume? It's way you can barely hear you.
They're probably figuring out seeing what we're going to use to shoot it down too. But I don't know. Like I said, that there's other ways, and if you can create one or come up with one to safely commandeer these things and intercept them, then you got a military contract worth a couple $1 million because
Well, I think we have ways to.
You need to study us too. Set up all of our alarms, see what we're doing, see what sites light up.
I think there's 1,000 ways to
Become active.
Two guys once that created this lens, and it could burn through things just by like the sun. Like they reflect it back on anything, and it like it.
That's why it
could
was
go,
white.
You know, like it just simple glass. You know, like a lens, a big old lens.
Yeah, it's
and
easy. We're at least when
you
we
don't
start
have
studying.
high tech stuff to.
Did we lose you?
No, I'm still here. I'm trying to find any more. It's hard to get anything on this, and of course, the military is not going to probably give a lot of answers, and they're going to wrap it in secrecy as usual and stuff. So it's just funny. You read all these reports on it, and they're just so dumbed down and uninformative about anything that it's just hard to believe that these people are real journalists trying to report on this stuff. It's like they're kindergarten teachers trying to dumb down things from class or something. Man, it's pretty bad.
Oh yeah. For some reason, I was having a bunch of times when your stream kept stuttering, and then some other people, only one or two people said they had the same thing. I went to my cell phone, same problem, not using Wi-Fi. Then I did a rebroadcast of cryptos, and people were saying the same thing there, but not as much on your channel. But when I went to Streamlabs, works perfect.
Well, again, just a quick recap. I mean, they shot down these 3 UFOs supposedly, and the fourth one was a Chinese spy balloon that got shot, actually traveled all the way and crashed in South Carolina. One crashed on Friday in Deadhorse, Alaska. Another one crashed on Saturday. There was a second sighting in Saturday in Montana, and then the third one crashed just today on Sunday up in Michigan, out in Lake Huron. And so they have all these crashes, and they're promoted as UFOs in the media, and then they're going to come out and say, "Oh, these are spy balloons," and it just looks like a Pentagon psyop, man. To me, it just like we wouldn't have heard about this stuff if it was, Are
they all the same or are they different? So I heard like one was like the bus size, and I heard the other was
they're different. So I'm glad you brought that up. It's the first one that they chose to publicize, the first one ever that they let cross the entire nation. Was the one that was an actual Chinese real weather balloon, and they knew it was, and that's why they chose to do it, and then they shot it down afterwards, and it probably was just a weather balloon that got caught up in the currents or whatever, and then since then, and using that, they then put up a couple of their own experimental things or something like that, or chose to take out other unknown things or private things or whatever, and then do 3 in a row, boom, 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 even though it's never been publicized before, and that they claim that Trump had a couple happen during his term, even though everyone in the establishment and in the military said, no, it had never happened under Trump's tenure. that is why part of this PSYOP is that they came in and put 2 more up on their own that they shot down that definitely have nothing to do with China or being weather balloons.
Yeah.
Were they the size of a school bus? Is that normal? I thought they were like small radio suns, just little sensors.
Size of the car. The other one, they didn't give like a size estimate. They just gave it looked like a cylindrical object. But then other pilots from different times and different viewpoints saw different things apparently. So one of them could have been, I was thinking, and also they reported radar jamming and other possible effects, which that reminds me of like the Project Nemesis stuff, right? Where they're able to.
I've got a question. If they reported or experienced radar jamming, how the heck did a missile actually hit it and target it and take it down? That's pretty ridiculous. And why didn't they just use the guns that were on it?
Just use an infrared seeker. The radar wouldn't matter. The one they used had infrared on it, I believe.
Can I get a word in here? I think so. Again,
there's no heat in a balloon.
I think they flew a balloon over trying to get us to use some sort of classified tech to shoot it down, and maybe used radar jamming to stop us from using a missile, but we just waited, used a missile anyway. So now they're sending other craft that trying to get us to use, again, experimental tech to shoot it down to figure out what we might have.
Also, just the amount of time it takes, for the planes to launch and get there and shoot it down and get back. Yeah, knowing how long that is.
Readiness, you mean?
But I also want to point
stuff like that is valuable.
Makes sense.
One of these sightings sounds like a actual tech program called Nemesis, or netted emulation of multi-element signatures. Okay, that they can actually create false radar blips. They can shut off and intercept radar, interfere with radar with a technology called ECCMs, or electronic countermeasures. They're called, and they can actually. If you read this article by T.D. Barnes, who's a former Area 51 employee, he talks about these programs, and he thinks that all these UFO sightings, including Nimitz, including all this stuff, is this technology. I interviewed him on this channel and asked him about it, and I asked him very detailed and specific questions about these UFO sightings. And this is one of the top, Area 51 tech guys, and he's saying that it's all spoofing, it's all fakery technology that they have, and they have these systems in place that if there's an airborne threat or an invasion, if anyone coming over, that they can fool this kind of stuff with some of this advanced technology. Which is surprising that these things are able to get through and taken out. They have these sophisticated, programs that can shine plasmas in the air and create imaginary fleets and mess up radar. Why can't they why are they letting these balloons all the way through all this protected airspace? And why aren't they deploying and using those technologies to, either mess up the either coordination or control system for these things to send them off course or confuse them about where they are? Or disable their sensors and data, because I assume that these plasmas, if they can ionize air, they can also ionize the wires and sensors in your camera, or spy cameras or your spy devices. So I just it's curious. I have a lot of questions about this, but the other thing is too, I don't know about Bernie's idea that that's 2 of these or some of these could have been, our own PSYOP, our own released balloons.
Or it could have been other unknown actual UAPs or some other threat. I think more likely our own, like you're saying, that theory. But a third theory, it could be they're engaging something else now to blame on the Chinese. So there's a couple of different options.
I said if it was a real UFO and they shot it down, it would be over here somewhere and we would never hear about it. And these ones would be the PSYOPs to distract us.
Well, the Chinese claim that it was an accident and just drifted here in the winds, right? Okay, well, one balloon.
That first one was an actual weather balloon. It was absolutely huge, and it had all the arrays to be weather monitoring stuff. These 2 new ones, they're saying one looks like a Tic Tac, a little cylindrical thing, no attachments underneath, not a giant balloon, but like an oval shape. And that apparently the second one is also that, and that both of these are up in the Yukon and in Alaska in the middle of effing nowhere. that nobody will ever, other than the militaries, will be able to access them? And did they use that as an excuse both to engage them as well as to blame it all on the Chinese?
I'm just saying it strains credulity that 3 of them in a row like all drifted in the wind at the same time. Like,
I'm saying only the first one did that. The second and the third were definitely placed by something, and something completely other than weather balloons.
How big do the weather balloons get?
The balloon size really big when it goes that high up in the atmosphere. It expands really big, but
not the balloon itself. The payload attachment.
Usually not as large as the one they shot down, but that's as big as they get usually.
Yeah. I thought they were all just like little couple of foot canister sizes.
Well, the one that they shot down genuinely looks like the type that they release in Alaska for a lot of the experiments and stuff. And sorry, not Alaska, Antarctica for a lot of the experiments, but that also up in the north around the North Pole, and that originally the Chinese one before it came into North America was up in the poles, and then apparently it hit the stream jet that took it down through North America in a way that the stream jet usually doesn't push or flow things, and if that hadn't been there, it would have stayed in the north and the North Pole area or the Arctic area.
Hey, Jeremy, can you move your clock? All we can ever see is the clock instead of your face.
Oh, there we go. I'm down.
There we go.
Yeah, sorry about that. The trajectory this thing took, yeah, it's interesting because if one spy balloon I would understand, but when there's so many of them coming down, they seem to be taking this path through the Yukon Territory in Canada and then coming down this way, and it didn't get close to DC, but it flew across all these places and was shot down on February 5th. I'd like to get more information on the trajectory of these other targets, and we got the 3 other UFOs balloons that were shot down over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I can't wait to see, did these come from the same area? Were they launched, from the same point?
I'd just like to quickly point out that at least one of them, the one in Canada, was all the way in the Yukon, which shows that it went way further west and out off of the ocean coast, where apparently the first Chinese one that they said they tracked all the way from China, it didn't. Yeah, you see it there. It didn't cross the, I guess, continental divide of the Rocky Mountains there ever, where the second one that was in Canada, it never made that turn there and straight south. It continued, or was just in that 90th or 80th or 90 parallel and all the way west or east into the Yukon in Canada, where it would have been staying in the Arctic. And apparently the one in Alaska also was more to the east and a lot further north. And chances are, if they were balloons, would never make it into the continental North America, as well as both of those have been reported without payloads, like the first one that had all the apparatuses on it.
I'd like to see a map of the jet stream for when that flew, if it really was following the jet stream or not.
Isn't China buying a whole bunch of property right in that area?
In what area?
In the Yukon for mining rights and stuff.
Oh, I think I did hear. Yeah, something, a week or two about that, something like that.
Ground penetrating radar mining. I don't know. Jeremy, you were talking about the X-ray thing to see what's underneath the ground. What if they're like trying to find ancient archaeological sites? Yeah,
it's probably not as much of their interest. I mean, like that they can. I mean, there's a lot of people trying to find that. I mean, that's archaeology. This is intelligence collection. It's I don't know. I just feel like if they're looking for ancient sites, they'd be in different areas and doing different things. And they can use GPR to look for, archaeologists use GPR a lot all the time.
Like they say there might be buried alien technology, So
They have the Chinese version of the Nazi Thule, or however you say that.
They're scanning
When
the
they were
ground.
looking for old artifacts.
I don't know. I think it's much more likely they're looking for data on this NSA spy center that was in Michigan. I mean Montana, and all the silos and ICBMs. They just seem like more valuable targets and more promising targets than just we're going to see if there's UFOs buried in the ground. Maybe.
I don't know. I mean, they found one in Ukraine, and I believe the whole war was about this thing that they found. It wasn't what we thought it was, but I think it's just that the Ukrainians don't want to give it to Russia, and Russia wants it, and it caused this whole war between them over.
We're making money off natural gas.
So,
did you see where they released that we blew up the pipeline?
Well, there's that one out there. I believe that one.
Yeah, Seymour Hersh's article, very good.
Yeah. When you see that, Seymour Hersh and the pipeline, I always just say, always suspect an inside job.
If I was Europe, I'd be pissed.
But yeah, that's pretty messed up, man.
Sorry, Jeremy. I feel that Seymour Hersh's article is at least accurate in a lot of it, like the inner workings of it, but it was only allowed between two different factions of the ruling elite that are disagreeing with each other, and how America's foreign policy and covert foreign policy are being played out.
Well, the whole point of it is how the hell can we go over there and do something like that anyway? How can that not be like an active war?
Oh, it's a 100% full active war, and that exactly that with now Seymour Hersh publishing it, that legally Russia could take that to the UN and challenge it as an active war, and if it got ruled as so, that convicted the US of doing it, or a loss, or a UN suit using Seymour Hersh's article to blame the US, and if the US was blamed on it, then Russia would have the UN backing that the US attacked it in an act of war.
Was the entire pipeline destroyed, or only a section of it? I mean, did the explosion
all four pipelines, all four of the separate pipelines were damaged and destroyed in portions that there's no working pipe out of the four pipelines.
We're talking about years to repair it, right?
It's pretty much destroyed it, because seawater then got into all four of the pipes, then eroding the inner steel and iron of these pipes away from the protected concrete outer shells of them, and thus are pretty much all completely wasted and couldn't be fixed.
Yeah. Heard it was the greatest environmental disaster ever, but yet don't see a word of that in the media.
This is interesting. So remember that FAA shutdown they had back in January? It was like...
Hey, that's going to affect food supply too. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It was, what was it, January 8th or 11th or something? They had this brief FAA systems outage disrupted.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 1/11. I remember it was the January 11th, because everyone's like, oh, it's September 11th, and this is it's a plan leading up to, there was a whole bunch of conspiracy theorists about saying that because it's on the 11th, it's a plan leading up to a psyop. And it was the first time that they'd actually shut down any airspace. The FAA had closed airspace since 9/11, and that was it was an interesting thing. I made a stream on that and talked a little bit about some of the FAA systems and computer systems and control systems.
Did you say January 11th or a couple of days ago?
It was January 11th. All right.
Okay.
So this was
the solar wind.
That's what I thought.
Then it was an outage with the systems went down or something. They had a ground stop at LaGuardia, and they had massive delays, and it caused all kinds of issues that day. I remember, but and they had a lot of
isn't that when they said something about the software or some kind of update like that wasn't
a software thing, and a software glitch in the update in their software did something right. But I was just interesting because that was the only time it's happened since 9/11, and that now we've had 2 FAA shutdowns with these UFO. They shut down the FAA in Michigan on Saturday night with that UFO was spotted, the sighting of one of these things, and then they shot down. I think they shut the airspace. Did they over Lake Huron? Yeah. So people talking about Lake Michigan, saying that they shut down the airspace in Lake Michigan today. People were tracking the air flights over Air Michigan just to see that what kind of planes were brought in. And I think someone was mentioning, one of these planes that was brought in looks like a helicopter that's set up for long range missions, and it's like a recon helicopter. And they were trying to find more information on it and where it came from, and because this is like the military's crash recovery teams and units being deployed on these things, and UFO researchers are jumping on that to be like, oh, where's the crash recovery teams and that, So lots of interesting stuff happened this weekend, man. This has been really exciting, and the numbers don't lie. 560 people watching, man. Thank you all for watching, and a lot of new viewers out there, a lot of new people tuning in. I'm the alien scientist. I have a degree in physics. I've been researching this stuff for 20 years, and I have a massive collection of, government studies, UFO data, and other hard evidence in the science realm. If you want to learn about, UFO research and science research into UFOs, secret meetings of, top scientists that were hired by the government to study gravity, and have secret meetings to discuss gravity with, and where the government research has really been at with this, and who the scientists are, and we're all about that here. And this is what we study, and we're not afraid to dig deep and talk about stories that no one else is reporting on, and really try to get to the real answers of the phenomenon, and trying to understand it, the physics behind how these craft fly, if they're propulsion systems, their invisibility cloaks, their space warp drives, and any other technologies that they might be using. And I knew this was going to be a bust, and like everyone, I had a whole bunch of people like hitting me up. Well, oh, you hear about what's going on? What's going on with this? I even had Brett Weinstein text me and say, man, what is going on with all this? Like, can you give me some update or insight? And I got to get back to him and tell him to watch this stream and check it out if he wants to get the lowdown. We've been going on for 2.5 hours now, and I don't want to keep I want to keep it going all night because we got the audience, and it's a really interesting story. And but what do you guys say? Should we
hold on one sec? I'm adding it onto my Rumble right now, so we can leave it streaming on Rumble, and it is also live on my Crypto Alchemist, but we'll probably end it on YouTube if you want, or should do a poll if they want it to go live on YouTube for another 30 minutes, and then afterwards it'll be on Rumble.
We can go live for another 30 minutes. We'll do a recap of everything and talk some more, man. This was a great show tonight with lots of ideas, lots of info, lots of people bouncing stuff around. I got a lot of good. The chat's been so packed. It's hard for me to like sit there and keep up with it, guys. I'm sorry, and I'm getting so many new ideas and stuff I want to talk about. So,
so many super chats tonight.
Yeah, there was a ton of super chats tonight too. So thank you everyone who gave super chats. And if we didn't ask your question, then no, we did. We got to all of them. So yeah, and feel free to ask a question if you have it, all caps. We're gonna go to a little private mode now, and I'm gonna end it on my channel. I'm sure I'm gonna be having people contacting me all throughout the week to give updates and reports on this. And
can I ask you a quick question? The spintronics are frequently brought up. Are those theoretical, or do we have real circuits made from those?
They were theoretical up until maybe like a couple years ago, but there are people working on photonic circuits and building them. Just the basic. They're more like the basic switches that will be required. So they haven't actually, this is like 2020. This was recent. I think 2018, 19 is the when these there was a group out of is this the
I seen a thing about 5 years ago, but it wasn't photonics. It was just an electric current, but the electrons were spin aligned.
Yeah,
that's separate idea.
It's the same idea. It's this idea of solid state base where you're using the electron spins and spin transport electrons. So it's
that was it.
So
it's very similar. And they're trying to. The issue is integrating this with quantum computers and the materials that you need to create these condensates so that you can get all your coherence with your spin states and stuff. Because there's the problem is there's a lot of noise and other issues that interfere with these things. They're super sensitive, so they're trying to build them so that they're more robust and not so sensitive. Because I mean, you get too much light shining on this thing, or an EMP from an electric discharge or something, it's gonna reset and mess up all your electronics.
I was under the impression it was room temperature, but it's not.
Yeah, no, they're room temperature, man. Yeah, they are, but they're just super susceptible to they're quantum systems, so they're just coupled to everything. So it's hard to uncut. It's hard to keep them coupled to their spin states and quantum networks and uncouple it from everything else outside your closed system, electronic device or spintronic device. So there's a lot of issues that they're running into with producing these, getting these things produced, but they're making these things, the spintronic things. So like you read that whole article and all the DRD reports with the metallic glasses and the laser etching. So they're laser etching these metals and metallic glasses to produce quantum dots. So they're like basically using lasers to print quantum dots on these materials, and those quantum dots give these spintronic properties to the surface, so they can use spintronics on the surface. The surface plasmons act more coherent when there's a system of quantum dots on the surface. So
I wonder if they could make it like a quantum tunnel, for lack of a better. In other words, instead of a dot, just have a narrow tunnel that it follows that would keep it aligned.
So is this not quantum entanglement? Like, how is that the spin states?
It is, yeah. It is quantum entanglement because the spin states become entangled and they become coherent. So it's solid state, so it's things in the solid state, which is anything that's a solid, like crystal or quasi-crystal or metallic glass, and it's all about these electronics and how the spins carry a lot of the associated electronic charge and solid state devices, essentially. So you can create. There's a lot to do with the theory on superconductivity and how superconductors are formed. Based on these. It's just the quantum geometry, really, the Cooper pairing, the whole idea of BCS theory, with the electrons form these pairs, and the pairs align the spin states, so it makes them act like bosons instead of half spin electrons. The half spin plus the half spin, in these Cooper pairs add up to make an integer spin, so that they start behaving quantum mechanically, statistically a lot differently. So, but again, we just lost 100 people getting into physics.
Yeah, I ended it live on one of my YouTube channels. We're still live on your channel and my Crypto Alchemist, and now live on my Rumble. As soon as you end it let me know as soon as you want me to end it on your Alien Scientist one, and then we'll drop from 500 to 150, but that's okay.
Yeah, we got a lot of people watching on Alien Scientist. Everyone who's not watching on Alien Scientist, please go to Alien Scientist and subscribe to my channel. I dropped the StreamYard link in if anyone wants to join in and ask questions directly or join the conversation. It's been 3 hours going now. Thank you all for bearing with me. Some of you are just tuning in now. Some of you are just tuning out. But I'm gonna take a quick 5-minute break after I end this, and then I'll rejoin you guys, and hopefully we'll get some audience members in here to join the conversation and ask some questions.
I'm just gonna post your channel link in my live first, so everybody can go subscribe. I did have it actually pinned earlier for 3/4 of the time it was live on my channel to subscribe to your channel with the link. I just switched the pin to now be on the Rumble that everybody can watch live on Rumble afterwards. Although I will keep it live on Crypto Alchemist YouTube for about another 5 minutes. It's ending on Alien Scientist YouTube in 1 minute, and it will switch over to be live on Alien Scientist Twitter. If you want to see the after party live on Twitter, go on to Alien Scientist Twitter and subscribe there.
Long form videos too. Yeah, follow me on Twitter, alien_scientist, and also consider subscribing to me on YouTube if you like the content. And thank you all. It's been great, and please send me an invite. I'd love to come on your show or your channel, as long as you're not the mainstream media or BBC, CNN. You can go to hell. Screw you guys. But any underground media, any real people out there that want to talk and talk about real information and not, sit there and interview me for 4 hours and cut it down with clever editing to a 5-minute segment that makes a fool out of me. I'm all set with you clowns and all you fake news agencies out of there. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to help us and hit the like button. And I'll see you guys all in about 10 minutes. I'm going to go take a quick break and answer some text messages and stuff, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
So we are now ending live on Alien Scientist YouTube, still live, Crypto Alchemist YouTube, still live, Rumble, and it's going to be live in 10 minutes on Jeremy's Alien Scientist Twitter channel.
What's the name on Rumble?
It is Burn Eye.
Okay.
Just BURNEYE or at BURNEYE. So we are no longer live on Alien Scientist YouTube, but we will be going live on Alien Scientist Twitter as soon as you're back, Jeremy. In the meantime, everybody feel free to still discuss as we're still live on my channels.
All right, and I'm going to...
Yeah, I don't see on Rumble, but...
Okay.
Oh well.
I posted the link to the Rumble.
Yes. How is the Argus? Argus said it stores 1 million terabytes a day. And yes, it's terabytes, not gigabytes. I verified the transcript. Anyone know how they could do that? Because that's more hard drives produced on Earth.
See, we are live on Rumble right now. And here is the link to the Rumble chat for everybody that is still live on my Crypto Alchemist YouTube channel. And make sure to go over to the Rumble, because it is about to end on Crypto Alchemist YouTube in exactly 1 minute, at which point we will be live on Alien Scientist Twitter, which we are already right now, on my Rumble, which I just posted the link for, and as soon as it ends on my YouTube, it will then be live also on my Twitch. So all the reasons to be subscribed to all the platforms.
Yeah. I'll have them all running at once to make the ratings better.
Oh, yeah. I'm live on
You had like 6 different streams running at the same time.
And posted now, right here. This is live on Jeremy's Alien Scientist YouTube, Twitter account. So we're live on Alien Scientist Twitter. We're live on Rumble. And we're about to end on YouTube. Any last YouTube words? No? Andreas? Or sorry, Anthony, I mean. Hominid, Simon, any last words on the balloons?
Are we
what do y'all
here in 2 minutes then? Or are we shutting down for like...
No, we're live and we're going to keep going live.
Okay.
It's going to keep going. It's just no longer live on YouTube, but it's live still on Rumble. It's live on Twitter, and it will be live on Twitch.
Oh, you just feel the censorship just like melt off of you. It's great.
Right, we've lost 600 or 500 viewers since cutting those channels, and we're at 96 live still.
Be nice if you could switch them over somehow.
Oh, I am. I've switched it all over.
Oh no, I mean them. Send all those links to the one place.
Well, does Rumble not have a pop-out chat?
No, it doesn't tell you the Rumble numbers, and it doesn't. There is a live chat. Whoa, Jeremy Walter, you got to turn off whatever you have going on in the background. That was horrible interference. What am I trying to do here? Right, one more time. There's now 70 people watching on Rumble. Amazing. Just like that. We've been live on Rumble for 5 minutes, and already 70 people are over on Rumble Live. One more time, there's the Rumble link.
Rumble chat's working for me.
Yeah, no. So Rumble chat is live, but it doesn't integrate with StreamYard, and it doesn't tell you the live viewers and add them up on StreamYard either, is the thing. But
it doesn't have a pop-out chat. So you can't have a separate window where it's just the chat.
Oh, right.
But yeah. Still is. Oh, sorry, Walter. I meant to unmute you. There you go. Sorry, Jeremy. You're unmuted. You can talk. Good. Walter, sir. Oh, shit. No, it's not. You're unmuted, but we still can't hear you.
Do you have like